K98Talk.com, a leader in Internet radio. So grab your seatbelts and take the ride of your life on K98Talk.com. K98 Talk is expanding its lineup for 2015. This means we are expanding our advertising base. Whether you're a startup trying to push through to the next level or an established business trying to supplement your advertising budget, web-based advertising is a solid investment. Thanks to Talk's newest partnership with TuneIn Radio and instant access to our sister station, K98 FM, we give you worldwide access at a reasonable cost. Interested parties should email us at sales@k98fm.com. K98Talk.com, a leader in Internet radio. So grab your seatbelts and take the ride of your life on K98Talk.com.
We will keep this promise to the American people. If you like your doctor, you will be able to keep your doctor, period. If you like your health care plan, you will be able to keep your health care plan, period.
This is the most transparent administration in history. Not even a smidgen of corruption.
Fact is, we had 4 dead Americans. What difference at this point does it make?
If you got a business, you didn't build that.
Oh, welcome to the face. Welcome to the face of the new democracy. Come expect us to admit a mistake. We're paying off election debts to those on the take. Attorney General's lying even while
It's time to hear the truth about America's biggest challenges. You're listening to America Off the Rails with your host, Rick Robinson.
All right, folks, well, happy Friday evening. Yes, that's right, it's Friday. We finally made it, and it is a couple minutes after 6 p.m. Central, 7 Eastern, and 4 Pacific, which means it is time for America Off the Rails, hosted by yours truly, Rick Robinson. I am joined by special guest today, Mr. Rod Eccles, host of the nationally syndicated Rod Eccles Show, who's basically on everywhere now, including our home station, K98Talk.com. Good evening, sir. How are you?
Good evening, Rick. How are you? I'm doing well, thank you.
I'm doing all right. I'm just glad we finally made it to Friday. I don't know about anybody else, but I am just ready for the weekend. I think maybe it's because I've had so much going on lately, because we've just gotten our press credentials confirmed for the Southern Republican Leadership Conference that'll be here in my home city in May 21st through the 23rd. So there are so many things that we're working on behind the scenes that it just seems like this whole week. At the same time, it seems like it's gone by really quickly, and yet taken a month to get to Friday, so I'm just really happy to finally be here, and it's great to be back on with you, because we had a little bit of a misconnect last weekend, unfortunately. So for those of you who don't know, Rod will actually be joining us again tomorrow morning, is my understanding, on Finding Common Ground. Now, Rod, I do have to give you a little bit of a heads up. That is normally a show where there is myself and one other liberal host. However, since you're going to be joining us tomorrow, I thought it was only fair that I bring both of the liberal hosts on. So we're going to have a little bit of a roundtable going on tomorrow. Just wanted to give you a heads up.
All right, I welcome it.
All right, so I know you've been on with us once before, and I also know that you are going to be appearing with Grouchy, I do believe, next week for his first hour. But in the event that folks that are tuning into this show have not had a chance to get to know you before, why don't you give folks a little bit of an idea of who you are, what it is that you do, and kind of give them a chance to get to know you.
Sure, why not? Well, basically, I'm a serial entrepreneur. I have a tagline attached to the show that states that I'm the coolest, most politically incorrect conservative black man on the planet. And there have been people out there, and I haven't done this, but other people have sometimes compared me to Rush Limbaugh and Sean Hannity, saying that I'm often more conservative than the two of them. If people want to believe that, that's fine. I'm definitely not going to argue with them. However, they tend to be very constitutional. Well, especially Hannity usually tends to be very constitutionally conservative. I've been doing this since 2009. I started in 2009 simply because of the fact that I've owned blogs and posted on blogs since 1998 or 99. around there. And there was one time in 2009, I was writing a blog post, and I was literally banging on my desk and my keyboard because I was so frustrated with the Obama administration. I mean, I was ticked off big time. And I had to sit back and stop because I was afraid I was going to break my keyboard if I kept going on. And I remember another blogger that I followed at the time, nothing to do with politics either, but another blogger that I followed, he switched his blog from doing the written word to doing audio blogs only. Now, I thought that was a cool thing, so I went and did a Google search, found Blog Talk Radio, and then on March 12th of 2009, I did my first audio blog, if you will, and within a couple of weeks, I got my first call, and it sort of took off from there.
Yeah, your story's pretty similar to a lot of the other folks that I kind of run in circles with. We all kind of got involved usually in the same way, using some form of either blogging or social media, and there just got to be the point where it just there had to be a better way to let out the frustration, because when you spend all of your time typing your frustrations, your keyboard becomes your enemy, and at some point you just want to keep pounding it until it's unconscious, because it just you get so angry that you just pound on it and you pound on it and you pound on it. And I even know of one guy, I heard a story here recently where because of other issues he was so frustrated with his computer he actually shot it. And I have to admit, I am still licensed to carry a firearm, but I used to be a licensed private investigator, licensed private security guard, and I did some time in law enforcement. So there was once or twice when I started doing the whole blogging thing and the Facebook thing, and just got really, really mad that, every once in a while I'd eye the area where my gun's locked up and go, I wonder what it would feel like just to shoot this damn thing. And then kind of the same general idea, one of the Facebook pages that we started on really kind of took off, and I got this crazy idea that it would make a good radio show, and the next thing you know, we kind of found Blog Talk Radio, which is where a lot of other folks I know got started, and the rest has been history. It's just interesting to compare stories, because it seems like everybody that I talk to that is running in these kind of circles, we all kind of started in the same general reasons. We felt like we had things that we needed to say, and we found mediums to do it, and then at one point it just got to the point where that medium wasn't quite doing what we had hoped it was going to do, and then we now have all kinds of radio stuff going on for a lot of us. I mean, like Bunny, one of the other hosts over here on Talk, she got started on Blog Talk Radio. Our whole network started on Blog Talk Radio at one point until we found other ways to get things done. So it's just interesting to compare stories. So, but anyway, just to kind of give everybody an idea, I'll let you do the rundown, because at this point you are pretty much everywhere. So for anybody who's looking to hear you, of course, other than talk here on pretty much every day of the week from 11 to 10 to noon Central, so 11 to 1 Eastern, where are some of the other places that you can be both read, heard, and I understand now from your PR crew that you are now going to be doing some speaking engagements too. So might as well just give everybody the whole enchilada for their first few minutes, if you don't mind.
Oh, okay. Wow, that's actually things have been just taking off like crazy. I am a syndicated talk show host now. You can find me on networks like yours, as well as Red State Radio, We Are America Radio, aka War Radio, Tavern Keepers Radio, and I'm also pretty much a syndicated columnist now too. Last count, I think my articles are posted on 15 different major publications, conservative publications out there. And if I'm not mistaken, I probably shouldn't say it, but I think WND is interested in taking my articles too, World Net Daily. So if that happens, I'll let people know. But a lot of things have just been happening over the past 2 months that it's been a whirlwind. I'm very grateful and humbled by it. But if you want to keep up with everything that's going on with me, because I can hardly keep up myself, the best thing to do is that I tell people is just to go over and check out the links in the broadcast section over at rodeccles.net. And there, everything is always updated, so you'll be able to get different networks that fit your time, or you can catch me on Spreaker 8 to 10. Although I can give a little bit of advance warning that in about 2 weeks, and I can't exactly say who the network is yet, but in about 2 weeks, The time frame will be changing to 7 to 9 p.m. because I will be broadcasting live from another major network that'll be bringing on my show. So that'll just add to all of those that are already out there, and it's just going to be. I'm happy about it. I can't really say that I expected it because I didn't. This is just taken off, and I think it's simply because this is a time period where I have a message that is resonating with a lot of people. And whenever you have somebody who can sort of be a voice where they can't be a voice, they sort of cling on to that. And this is one of the reasons why Rush Limbaugh took off in his early days, because it was at a time when there didn't seem to be a voice that matched the people. And then he came on and everybody said, well, I think like that. You know, he's got a good message, but I can't say it the way he says it. And people just sort of attach themselves to it. And I'm humbled to think that is what's happening here with me right now. So, RodEccles.net gives you all the information on my writing, on my social networks, on the radio the stations that I'm on, because those are being added to every week. So it's kind of hard for me to keep up.
No, and actually that was one of the last things I was going to make sure you did was give out your website information, which at the end of the show we'll have you do that again. And I'm just glad that talk has at least been some small part in your rise here, because it seems like you said, it seems like every other week I get an email about how things are changing for you. So I'm just glad, one, that I've gotten the chance to start getting to know you, and two, that we are now at least one of the many places where you can be found, because I do thoroughly enjoy your show. It's one of my guilty pleasures. Now we have our own little areas at the day job, so I can actually fire up my own feeds and listen to them once in a while, and yours is one of the ones that I will turn on, and then I'll kind of go back over to the regular talk radio stuff to maybe get a few minutes of research done here and there. But now, there are some things that I've wanted to touch on, and there's some things that I've talked about before, but the issue with it is anytime I really start talking about it, I get hate mail about how I'm just an old fat white guy and I need to shut up. So I have some questions that I'm going to ask you for a moment, and I hope they don't offend you. But there's just some things that I think yours is a unique perspective, and I want to try to see what you think about it, because I hear everybody on the left talking about how ever since we have gotten, I guess for the sake of niceness, I will call him fearless leader in the White House, that we now have ushered in this new age of race relations. And how do you feel about that? In your estimation, are things about the same as they were before he took office? Are they better? Are they worse?
They are worse. Look, under George W. Bush, you didn't have things regularly happening like Ferguson. You didn't have them. And what the left fails to tell everybody. They like to tout, Obama's, the first African-American president. First of all, he's not the first African-American president, because his dad was a Kenyan, as far as we know. His dad is a Kenyan. So therefore, he's the first half-black, half-white, mulatto, basically, president that we've had. And that's fine. I'm not here to parse words, but let's get it straight if we're actually going to start promoting this kind of stuff. We do know that Republicans have had historical firsts in a lot of different areas with blacks and Latinos. But the only people who seem to get credit for this are Democrats. Now, we have to understand that George W. Bush made history when he made certain black people the first blacks in their positions. And we're talking the first black Secretary of State, the first female black Secretary of State. We had the first Latino Attorney General, and on down the list in his administration. Now, Clinton had lots of chances and opportunity to be the first, but he decided not to be. For whatever his reasons were, he wasn't. So I'm getting sick and tired of listening to the Democrats and people touting the Democrats as being this all-inclusive, race-inclusive type of party, which is a bunch of BS, because they're the party of slavery. Let's not forget that. It was the Republicans, and Lincoln was a Republican, that went to war, the Civil War, and freed the slaves. Now, granted, the Civil War was not all about slavery. It wasn't, much to the chagrin and amazement of a lot of young people today. No, it was not about slavery. But they did accomplish that. It was also Republicans that tried for over 100 years to get civil rights blocked every single time by Democrats. They have not changed their stripes, by the way. They're still mean rich white people that hate, the minorities. And one of the reasons, one of the ways that they are able to still control the minority population is, one, they support Planned Parenthood. By the way, in its founding documentation, was started by Miss Sanger to control black population, plain and simple. That is in their charter. And for people to say, well, no, it's about family planning, that's a bunch of BS. It's about controlling the minority population through abortion. And it works so effectively right now that in many major cities across this country, more black babies are aborted every year than are born. And somebody wants to tell me that our race relations have improved since Barack Obama's been in office? No, they've gotten worse.
Okay, well, to touch on a couple of points that you... Oh, sorry, you're kind of breaking up. Try that again. Are you still there?
I'm still here.
Okay. You kind of cut out, so I thought you were done, but then it sounded like you were trying to say something else and you were breaking up. So try it one more time.
Basically, I was saying that under Barack Obama, race relations have actually gotten worse, not better. The Democrats have been able to push their agenda farther and farther into separating the races instead of uniting them. And Obama's not the great uniter that everybody thought he was going to be. He's actually the great race divider, and he's done a very good job of doing it.
Well, I mean, yeah, and I think part of that is actually by design, to be honest. Now, to touch on a couple of things that you brought up, because this is the argument that I get all the time. I get it on Twitter. I get it through my emails. Anytime I start trying to point out the fact that, it was Republicans that have done all of these positive things throughout history, the line that I get from every single liberal at some point is that sometime during the time frame of LBJ, the parties actually flipped, and all of a sudden the Democrats were what was once the Republican Party, and now the Republican Party is the old guard white guys trying to hold on to the way things are now, or were before. And as someone who seems like you're pretty well versed in all of this stuff, how would you combat an argument like that? Has someone said something like that to you before? Have you had anybody who's confronted you with that? And if so, if you haven't, how would you deal with it?
All the time I get that. And I just ask them, when did the great switch in the Democrat Party happen? Give me a time frame. Oh, it happened in the 60s. Really? You mean under LBJ, the president whose tapes have been released over the past 10 or 15 years that catch him talking about how that they were going to be forced to accept civil rights. It was a fait accompli. There's nothing they could do to stop it anymore. But they were going to come up with a new way to be able to control the black population through welfare programs. That's how he was going to do it. And he was going to ensure by doing this that blacks would vote Democrat, even if the Democrats were working against the blacks' best interest. And that's all they've done. And so I would like them to tell me that by government statistics, and especially census stats, how is it that the vast majority of people who identify with the KKK and skinheads are registered Democrats, not Republicans? What they try to say is that when some of the Democrats voted for civil rights back in the 60s, that some of the people who were really against it out in the electorate, they were so upset with them that they went and tried to join the Republican Party. And George H.W. Bush, who was a Republican, the GOP chair at the time, thought he would be able to switch them around, and he accepted and welcomed them all with open arms. The big tent type of party was born. The problem is that through the 70s and 80s, David Duke, anyone, whenever there was somebody who was overtly racist that came out in the Republican Party, the Republicans shunned them. They sent them packing. And if you remember David Duke, when he tried running, he didn't get a single dime from the Republican Party when he ran. He was running all on his own as a Republican. They didn't want anything to do with him. You don't get that with Democrats. I mean, hell, they kept reelecting people like Robert Byrd. Explain that to me. The Republicans will shun somebody that comes out as being overtly racist, and the Democrats will even take a former KKK member, a Grand Cyclops or Ku Klux, whatever they are, and support them and give them money and make sure that they run and keep winning and winning and winning until they die in office. So tell me how they changed and flip-flop. They didn't.
Well, yeah, and those are some of the same arguments that I've made, but again, I just kind of wanted your perspective on it only because it is a unique perspective, and you're one of the only people that I've had this conversation with where they can't just pull out the, well, you're an old fat white guy card. So it's one of the reasons why I've kind of steered this part of the show into that general direction. Now, a couple other quick questions. So far, out of anybody who's declared, because I don't really want to go into the realm of theoreticals, but is there anyone that has actually declared so far in the 2016 election that you are kind of eyeing as the possible front runner? Have you made any type of even knee-jerk reactions yet? You still reserving judgment? Because I know who you're voting for in 2020. I'm just saying.
I don't have a favorite candidate yet. There are still a lot of people that are yet to announce that they're getting in the race. And there are people that are still on the fence. I mean, we're expecting announcements from Dr. Ben Carson, Carly Fiorina, both on May 4th. We're still waiting for Jeb Bush. Now some people are saying Jeb isn't going to get in now, and we always thought that he was definitely going to get in, but a little bit later. Christie has been flip-flopping. You're conflicting things about Chris Christie and a bunch of others. I mean, we're still waiting for Scott Walker for him to make up his mind. So at the moment, I don't really have a favorite. I welcome all the conservatives to, real conservatives to jump in. And I know people are saying, well, that's not Jeb Bush. Yeah, I know he's not a real true conservative. But I welcome all the conservatives to get in and let's make this, because right now, the three candidates that have expressed that they're running, between Cruz and Rubio and Paul, they have really pulled the party ticket to the right, farther to the right, away from the moderate stuff. That's a good thing. So now there's going to be a voice in this race, strong, loud voices, because you're not going to be able to shut any one of those three up. You're not going to be able to keep them out of the public light. They're so explosive that even the mainstream media can't afford not to cover them. So that's a good thing. I like some of the things that all three of them have to say. I heard one person, I think it was Mark Stein, who said about candidates. He said what he shoots for is a candidate that shares 80% of his views, because you're not going to get somebody 100%. That's just not going to happen. And those people who think that this candidate is 100% behind, in their views, then they're a single or a double issue voter, and that's it. There are too many issues out there. So I kind of look at the same thing. If there's a candidate who I can agree with 80% of the time, then he's got a good potential of getting my support and my vote. And right now, so far, it looks like all three of those candidates could fit, current candidates could fit that role. I haven't heard much from Carly yet, but what little I have heard, she could possibly fit that. Ben Carson, again, not a perfect candidate, but he said things, and again, he can fit that 80% measure, as well as Scott Walker. Some of the people that I think that probably would not fit my 80% would be Jeb Bush. That doesn't mean that if he did become the Republican nominee, I would vote for Jeb Bush over anybody that the Democrats can throw up at us at the moment. So that's where I stand right now. It's just way too early to take sides in my book.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly really haven't made much of a decision either. I really, at this point, hope Walker does decide to run, because he would probably be one of the ones that I could throw the majority of my support behind. Now, as far as old Jeb, I have a friend over in War Media, well, two actually, JD and Stacy. They have two shows they do over there, and one of their recurring themes is this little bit that they play where JD yells, "Stay out the bushes," which is his answer to whether or not we should vote for not George Bush, but Jeb Bush. Now, you mentioned Christie a moment ago. Here's my concern with Christie. I don't think anybody should be able to have themselves talked out of veto by offering Twinkies. Because, I mean, think about it for a second. He tries to be big and stand up to Congress, and somebody waves a box of Twinkies or Krispy Kremes in front of his face, and the next thing you know, he caves. I mean, that can't be a good thing. Not only that, but, I mean, let's face it. For New Jersey, he's conservative. But it's New Jersey. I mean, seriously.
The only thing I fear with Christie is all the comparisons that will be made with Herbert Hoover with him. Now, for those of you who don't know, Herbert Hoover was by far our largest president, weighing in at over 300 pounds. In fact, he had a special tub made to be fitted into the White House just to accommodate him. He was a very large man. He was tall and very big, rotund. So I'm thinking and we know what happened to Herbert Hoover. His story didn't end well as far as presidential politics go. So I'm looking for people to start comparing him to Hoover. I hope that doesn't happen, but it probably will.
I mean, in all fairness, I really can't say much. You've seen my picture on Twitter, I'm sure. I am a large guy. I do enjoy the food, but I also won't put myself in a position where I can have the fate of the world ripped away from my hands with a box of Twinkies. So I'm just saying. All right, so we've managed to rule out the fact that right now you really don't have any type of a front runner. I have to say there's been some interesting things going on in the news on the other side of the equation. So far, Hillary is still one of the only really confirmed Democratic candidates, and now some of the most liberal publications in the media empires are actually seeming like they're coming out against her. I'm wondering there's got to be something there that we don't know yet. Because they don't eat their own on that side.
There's been some foreshadowing with this before she even got in the race. There were some people that said that she shouldn't get in. And now my whole take is that I underestimated her. I'll admit it, I did. I underestimated her because I thought with the current scandals that she had, that was going to be too much for her to overcome. That I thought for sure that she was going to bend to pressure to not get in because she wouldn't want to have to air all of this and actually answer to all of this. But then she surprised me and jumped in. And I thought, whoa, okay, she's got some brass kahunas down there. She probably has bigger ones than Bill does. And who knows, maybe Bill pushed her into it. I don't know. But although I heard today that there are people floating theories that Bill didn't want her to run, and some of this stuff that's coming out now is actually being secretly leaked by Bill because he doesn't want to be in the White House because then all eyes would be back on him, and he won't be able to do the things that he used to do in secret anymore. I don't know if I buy that one. But now that she's in, now we're finding more scandals, and this whole notion with the Clinton Family Foundation is just the tip of the iceberg. I think this stuff is going to continue to haunt her, which is why now you're starting to see a lot of Democrats, who once thought that she was a juggernaut, unstoppable. Now they're saying, well, maybe we better be looking for somebody else, which is why people are floating the name of Elizabeth Warren around. And I don't know if she'll get in. If she does, it'll be a cat fight. And, it would not behoove Elizabeth Warren to get in to battle against Hillary Clinton because she's not exactly, pristine either. She's got some issues in her past that are going to come back to haunt her if she gets in. And in any case, the Republicans, whoever the Republican nominee is, they're going to have so much ammunition to fire on her. This whole notion that it's going to be a close race if it's Hillary, I don't think so. I think it'll be worse than a landslide because if forget chivalry, and I know the mainstream media is going to try to tout it as the male contender Republican nominee is going to be a big bully and male chauvinist when he's approaching Hillary in the race, but I don't think they're going to be able to get away with it. And they definitely won't be able to get away with it, say, if Carly Fiorina is the Republican nominee. Carly is fearless. She will bury Hillary. And I don't see the Democrats be so willing to let go of the office for the next 4 to 8 years. They're going to try to bring up somebody, and because they've already floated the idea of Elizabeth Warren, and I guess now there's even rumors of a Lincoln Chafee possibility. So, when you have your solid candidate, then there's not going to be anybody else who's going to be a serious contender. But when you start having in an inner circle serious talk of even somebody like Lincoln Chafee challenging Clinton, there's big problems in the Democrat Party with this. And everybody's still waiting to see what Barack Obama's going to do. Because let's face it, there is no love lost between the Clintons and the Obamas still to this day. And, he's got a lot on her, and vice versa. She's got a lot on him, so it kind of, they're kind of holding off right now on releasing stuff on each other. But I think Hillary, as time goes on, finds herself more and more vulnerable, and whatever she has on Obama is going to lose a little bit of power to what she's done to herself and what Bill has done to them. So it's going to be interesting. Over the summer, we're going to see a lot of stuff come out that people just do not realize yet. That is going to be extremely damaging. I do not, at this point, if the heat stays on her, I do not see her staying in the race to the end. She's going to bow out.
Well, you brought up an interesting point about the whole, tit for tat that the Clintons and the Obamas could play on one another. I have a couple of sources who have requested to remain nameless that have actually, and I think a little bit of this may have come out in the media by now as well, but there have been some stories floating that some of the early stuff that started being found out about Clinton was actually being released by someone in the Jarrett camp. And I actually have a couple of sources that have confirmed that with me, but they've requested that they remain nameless, which is why I hadn't said anything until after it started actually leaking out here and there a little bit in the media. That is one of the stories that has been somewhat confirmed, at least in the rumor mill sectors of the media, that Valerie Jarrett may have had a hand in some of these most recent scandals that are now starting to affect Mrs. Clinton. I hadn't heard the one about Bill, possibly. I'm not sure I buy that one. My concern with, let's just say for the sake of argument, that Hillary was able to make it into the White House. First of all, I don't think Bill could ever fit the title of First Gentleman, which is likely what he would be called, because that's just how it works, because the alternate to Lady is Gentleman. I've heard people arguing about what he would be called. I'm pretty sure that would be it. The other issue is, when the president travels and the first lady travels with him and they go to all of these important events, the spouses of these world leaders are typically left with, up until now, what has traditionally been the first lady. I'm not quite so sure how comfortable I would be with the spouses of the dignitaries of the world being left alone with Bill Clinton. Just saying.
Well, that's an interesting point, but yes, that would be true. I can see a lot. Some of the world's leaders' wives are, even Bill Clinton wouldn't go after them because, let's face it, they're uglier than sin. But there are a few out there that are absolutely gorgeous. You're absolutely right. They would definitely have a problem with him.
Most likely. All right, folks, we are at the bottom of the hour. We're going to have to take a really quick break. We'll be right back with Mr. Rod Eccles, and this is America Off the Rails. Back with the last half hour here in just a couple minutes.
Not on my watch, our military service members say, as they volunteer to serve. As they move out, stand firm, and take fire. So not on our watch, we say, to the severely ill or injured veterans who can't get the care they deserve to live full and independent lives, even when there's no government funding, or a nursing home seems like the only option. We won't leave one warrior behind. Not on our watch. Join us at findwwp.org.
Hey everybody, this is Jason, host of According to Me. I'd like to invite you to check out my show. It's a 2-hour show that lasts 60 minutes and...
Listen, I hate to interrupt, but one thing I can do is read off a script. Just say, let me be clear a lot. It works.
President Obama, I can handle this. It's a radio promo. I'm not green. I've done this before.
Did someone say green?
Now, Al Gore is here. Listen, I'm just trying to record a radio promo. Do you mind?
Now, do you say good things about me on the show?
No, not at all. But if it makes you feel any better, I rip on Republicans just as much.
The AM radio frequencies give off very high levels of radiation.
Look, my show is on the internet, which you invented. Can I just do my promo? I got a pen. I can veto that, you know. I know you got a pen. It's not a law. It's a radio promo. Listen, just listen to my show. Barack Obama and Al Gore hate it, so you're going to love it. Here's an executive order. Don't listen to his show. He doesn't like me. He's racist. And he doesn't recycle either. That's it. I'm done. It's According to Me, Wednesdays, 10 p.m. Eastern, right here on K98 Talk.
We're gonna spread freedom. Obama's gonna change it. Obama's gonna lead 'em.
So let me be clear. You didn't build that.
Everything he's done is clean as a whistle. He's never not only broken any law, he's never done anything wrong. He's the perfect father, the perfect husband, the perfect American.
Hey, y'all. This is Sam Janney, or the Bunny, as many of you know me by. Your friendly neighborhood bad girl of conservatism. Here to talk to you about my show. I'll talk about conservative issues, my top 10 douchebags of the week, and have some pretty badass conservative guests on the show. All that, plus me, your resident bunny with a chainsaw.
Wednesday nights will never be the same. It's Unapologetically Bunny. Wednesdays, 9 p.m. Eastern, right here on K98 Talk.
Telephone to bypass all your laws. Political correctness will replace the Bill of Rights. Support religious freedom, lest you pray to Jesus Christ. The press is in our pockets cause it's no longer free. You cannot make a move now that the NSA can see. Don't expect equality, respect, or fair play.
All right, folks, we are back. We are live. This is America Off the Rails. I'm your host, Rick Robinson. Again, joined this evening by Mr. Rod Eccles, nationally syndicated radio host and columnist of the Rod Eccles Show. We have been so far kind of all over the map talking about whether he had any choices for 2016 yet. Some of the fact that for the first time ever, it seems like first time in a while, it seems like the Republican Party is kind of got their own circular firing squad going on, which is what the Republican Party has been accused of a lot lately. And also just a few other stories that we've been touching on off and on. Now, we do have about a little less than a half hour left now. There is one thing that I do want to play for Mr. Eccles, just so he can hear something that I personally think is completely off the charts and entertaining. We have, for those of you who don't know, the Polititainment Crew airs here every Monday and Wednesday night. They are some of the best folks in talk radio as far as up-and-comers. One of them has been around for a while, Miss Polita Bunny. The other, one who you're about to hear a parody that was put together by is Mr. Jason DeWilkins, host of According to Me. And this makes me laugh every time I play it, and I just figured, since I'm not sure he's heard it before, we will let him check it out.
Oh, Obama, oh, oh. Obama, oh, oh. Obama, oh. Obama.
This here's that new hit, Michelle Obama, the floatist. This one's for the middle class. This term's my last. I got work, you see. Free community college and roads to fix in the city. Got vacation days to use up, and damn, my golf shot's pretty. I'm too hot. Hot damn. Climate change has got me on fire, man. I'm too hot. Hot damn. Teabaggers call me a liar, man. I'm too hot. Hot damn. Hope and change, you know who I am. I'm too hot. Hot damn. And the redistribution of money, check it out. Tax increase, hallelujah. Woo! Tax increase, hallelujah. Woo! Tax increase, hallelujah. Woo! Obama bunk's gonna stick it to you. Obama bunk's gonna stick it to you. Obama bunk's gonna stick it to you. My massive spending will never stop. Don't believe me, just watch. Let me be clear. I'll say it again. Republicans, don't believe me, just watch.
All right, folks, that was the man of many voices, Mr. Jason DeWilkins, host of According to Me, with his Obama impersonation and his parody song, Obama Bunk, which, like I said, makes me giggle every time I hear it. So I just had to play it. I hadn't played anything like that in a while, and I just decided to have a little bit of fun tonight instead of being so serious all the time. All right. So, yeah, that's how we roll over here, sir, just so you know. Rod, you still with me, or did I lose you?
I'm sorry, but I was over here sitting in what I call my freedom throne chair, and I'm just dying. That was hilarious. That was good. That was very good. I was just cracking up, so I was hoping it didn't come out over the mic while it was playing, but I was dying.
Well, our mics were live, so they would have heard you, but that's okay. I didn't hear you, so I'm guessing it didn't translate. But that was Jason DeWilkins, host of According to Me. He is heard every Wednesday night here at 10 Eastern, 9 Central. He is the one that comes on right after Miss Politabunny, who is the rock star of the Politainment crew. Numbers are off the chart for that group every time they play, and they're live, and that's one of the reasons why. They have such great talent all the way around, and actually, Jason and I have been discussing putting a few things together for the shows over here as well. One of the things that we've been toying around with is having him come on and do his Obama impersonation for about a 15 to 20 minute interview, and just kind of having a little bit of fun with it. Because that believe it or not, that was Jason, and I actually let my wife hear him do his Obama impersonation for the first time the other night, and she not only was floored, because that's a pretty damn good Obama impression. When she saw his picture, she was floored even more, because it's an old white guy. Well, not old, he's probably younger than me, but it's just odd that, you don't put his face together with being able to sound that much like the president, because that's just kind of odd and eerie. But yeah, so he does some really good stuff, and I let them play it more often than I play it, because it's their stuff, but I still like to use it every once in a while. So yeah, I just wanted to share that with you, just in case you hadn't heard anything from them yet. Also, I do know that you like to make rounds. If you're ever interested in making any appearances over there, just let me know, and I can get Laura their information and see if we can get something set up for you to do some of their shows, if they're interested. I hadn't really talked to them about it yet either, but just kind of throwing that out there. Now,
I'm sure she's interested to hear that, yeah.
All right, so we are, actually, that took a little longer than I thought, because I didn't expect both of us to be laughing uncontrollably for a couple of minutes there, because that's one reason why I didn't say anything for the first minute or so. I was kind of hoping you were still composed, because you're the nationally syndicated guy over here. Yeah.
No, I'm still human, though.
I'm just messing with you. All right, so we are down to about 18 minutes. We've actually covered most of what I really wanted to talk about today. So let's. The last thing I really kind of wanted to touch on a little bit, because, like I said, we've talked about it off air. You kind of dropped a bit of a bombshell on the Wake Up America show, the first one you came on with us, and towards the end, you started talking about how you were eyeing the White House. I do believe you said 2020, if memory serves. So, I have to ask, were you just kind of yanking our chains, or are you seriously looking at trying to make a run for the White House in a few years?
I'm sure a lot of your listeners, as well as you, have seen the Robin Williams hit movie Man of the People. And he makes the claim that he actually does it, runs for president with absolutely no idea of actually winning, but of course part of the plot of the movie is that he does win. But I kind of say that in jest, as far as being a combination, because Robin Williams was his character was a combo of like a Mary Povich and an Oprah Winfrey. He was a talk show host. And so I take that and I look at it and I say, okay, I'm going to throw my hat in the ring in 2020. And I've been saying that since, when Obama was running for re-election the first time in 2012, I said, look out for me because I'm going to be running in 2020. To be frank with you, honestly, I don't think I would ever run for the presidency of the United States of America. One, because I don't like national politics like that. And two, I don't like living in Washington, D.C. And three, because I am honest and I cannot be bought, I don't think people would elect me because I would tell them the truth. I wouldn't tell them what they wanted to hear. So I don't think I'd make it, first of all, past the primary. I'd be one of those guys that the press would just call a nut and dismiss early. But I think I have a much bigger role being on the outside than on the inside. But the whole notion that me running for 2020, it is kind of tongue-in-cheek. But at the same time, when that time, even now, until that time comes up, I'm starting to interject myself in the process as if I'm a candidate, because that's how we're going to start actually getting people that we want to be elected. I mean, the Tea Party did a great job and starting off the whole chain of events of getting certain what we call Tea Party members elected to the Senate and the House. We have to continue that, and it takes voices out there to be able to continue that. And if that's what it takes, by the time that election rolls around, if it takes me actually saying, well, I'm going to be running in order so my voice can still be heard on a greater level, then that's what I'll do. But I have no grandiose ideas that I would actually win if I actually did run. So that's I know it's kind of a strange type of twist, but that's the truth behind it all.
Oh, no. I mean, I have to say, if I had come up with that idea, I probably would be doing about the same thing you are and basically just trying to interject myself more into it, which we honestly are starting to do here because for some reason, I haven't been doing this nearly as long as you've been doing it. We've been making a run at this stuff now pretty seriously for about 2.5 years. And for the first time ever, just to see what happened, I decided to put together an email to send over to the group that's running the leadership convention here and introduce myself and my boss, who will be attending as well, along with one other party, and basically put our hat in the ring to say, hey, this is who we are. We would love to cover this event. We're just kind of curious to find out what that would take, what we would need to do. They responded within 2 weeks of the email, not only telling us that we were already in, but that we had secured a spot in their Radio Row section. So, honestly, I'm a little taken aback and a little surprised. And not only that, I think everybody else that's hearing what we're about to be involved in is actually, in some levels, making an even bigger deal about it than I am, because I don't know, maybe just the enormity of being someplace like Radio Row just hasn't sunk into me yet. I don't know, because, it's Oklahoma City. It would be different if it was CPAC, because I know that all the big names were there, but I don't know who all's going to be there. Honestly, whoever's there is probably swimming in a lot bigger ponds than I am, so it'll be nice to be in their circles for a little bit, but it's still, it's just one of those things where I don't think it's completely sunk in yet. But same general idea. I threw my hat in the ring thinking they would laugh me out of the room, and the next thing I know, we've not only gotten a spot on Radio Row, but we've now secured credentials for multiple people to be in the same place at the same time, so we're going to be able to cover multiple angles, both through freepressok.com and K98talk.com, so just really stoked about that. Actually, I did reach out to them and was surprised to learn they didn't have any audio spots, so we're actually putting together some that will promote us as well as the shows. So one of the things that I've been doing with some of the folks, and I hadn't gotten around to sending you guys the email yet, so I'll just let you know now. For the folks that are syndicating with us, I've been reaching out to them, letting them know if there's anything particular they want us to try to do for them while we are in that type of a venue, any particular questions they want asked if we get the chance to interview anybody, just to shoot me an email so I can start putting things together. And while we're on the subject, for those of you that follow us on Twitter, Grouchy and I had the same general idea, which is, since we are going to be somewhere where a lot of folks aren't going to ever have the ability to go, if there are any questions that you want asked of the folks that are starting to declare and will be at that event, make sure you hit us up either through email or Twitter and let us know what your questions are. We'll definitely, if we get the opportunity, sit down with them, even if we have to pre-record it and get your questions asked and answered. So we're just going to try to kind of do exactly what you just talked about, kind of go into a situation where we didn't expect to be and be a voice of the people. So I'm hoping it works out. So I do fully understand what you just said. I'm just honestly surprised. For us, it seems to be working, even if it is in small circles.
It has to start somewhere.
All right. So, well, you kind of let some of the wind out of my sails. I was going to start asking you what you'd planned on doing if you were actually going to try to run on 2020. And I kind of figured there was a backstory there somewhere. But yeah, like I said, you had mentioned it within a few minutes of us going off the air the other night. Now, I did notice a couple other things that I hadn't brought up yet. I don't know if you'd noticed these stories circulating, but apparently Mr. Rand Paul is getting in trouble for some of his music choices and a few other things that he's done during some of his video spots. Apparently, one of the groups that he's been using in a video spot has actually specifically sent a request to him to demand that he stop using their music.
Well, he's not. That's not the first time that's happened. When a politician is using the music without permission, and politicians are politicians. They're like everybody else. They don't realize that they're breaking any copyright rules or laws or what have you, and they think it's fair use of the material, so they go out and use it. Next thing you know, the artist goes, especially seeing how a lot of the musical artists are liberal in their political views, and they don't want to be associated through their music with them. So it happens. There was a time when it was back in the 90s when Christy, I can't even think of the last name, but the Pretenders, Christy Hines, refused to let, because everybody knows the Rush Limbaugh theme. Well, that's actually a Christy Hines and the Pretenders song. It's a real song. And evidently, Christy Hines was trying to rescind her permission for him to use it because, Rush was too conservative and she's just a wacko liberal. And so Rush was, he basically said, fine, I won't use it. And there was a backlash against Christy Hines and the Pretenders, and then she relented, and now he's still able to use it. But this is the same thing that happens. It's strictly on a. I'm not surprised that he's being hammered by this kind of stuff, and it happens all the time. He's not the first one. He's not going to be the last one. The Ray-Ban stuff, I think that's Ray-Ban being very petty. It really is. And again, I think the backlash against Ray-Ban is going to make them regret that they did this. But it is what it is.
That's usually what happens is they decide to get a burr in their saddle, as we like to say in this neck of the woods, and the next thing you know, they're wishing they just kept their mouth shut, which is probably exactly what's going to happen in both instances. There was another story. I'm trying to see if I can find it real quick, because I just had it, and then I was looking at something else, and then I lost it. You gotta love the way websites are anymore, where they've got like the multiple pages and they kind of scroll through them, and then eventually you don't even see the one you were originally looking for. That's always fun, because I had one other story and I had it prepped. Joys of live radio. Oh, that's what it was. I can't believe I forgot that. I had, honestly, again, lots of prep work behind the scenes, so this isn't a story that I followed very closely. But how do you feel about the fact that it seems like the Republican Senate just basically caved, and now Loretta Lynch has been confirmed as the Attorney General? Because in my estimation, she's the female version of the Attorney General we already had, if not a little bit worse. So I'm a little disturbed. But again, I hadn't really been following that much of the story, so I don't know if there was maybe some sort of a turning point or what, but it just seems that all of a sudden they went from feeling like they were going to have a little bit of a fight and try to see what they could do, and then they just kind of caved, and now we have Loretta Lynch.
It's a typical wimp out story, and at first they were all gung-ho, yeah, we're going to oppose her, we're going to stand firm. And then they thought they saw the political winds change on them on that, which they really didn't. But they buy into this liberal media mantra far too often, and it causes them to not stand on their laurels. And frankly, they had every right to not approve her. But you did have some of the Republican leadership saying, well, the president has a right to have who he wants for those particular offices. And that's a misnomer, constitutionally speaking, historically speaking, and factually speaking. No, the president gets to nominate whoever they want. But the Constitution says it's with the consultation and consult of the Senate. In other words, the Senate has a say in who actually gets the job. It doesn't mean the president gets whoever he wants to have in that particular position. The Senate can say, okay, well, consult us about this. Great. So now we're going to go through the approval process, the confirmation process, and they can dig up all kinds of stuff and say, well, this person isn't qualified, Mr. President. Sorry, give us another one. That's their job. But we get this false. Again, we got all these people out there, especially in the left, twisting the meaning of the Constitution, and there's nobody out there really telling us the true meaning behind the Constitution. The Constitution is not that difficult. It says what it says and means what it means, plain and simple. It's not like the founding fathers were these highfalutin, superiorly educated type of intellectual individuals. They were regular people. They wrote in the regular language of their day. And there's nothing coded in English. It's pretty simple and straightforward. And basically what they meant was, the president gets to nominate whoever he wants. Congress gets to, basically consult with the president and tell them that they believe the person is qualified or not qualified. If they think the person is qualified, the nominee is qualified, then they approve him. If they don't think so, then they don't approve him. And the president has to send them another name. That's the whole, but I know it's frustrating for people to see this happening, but that's the truth.
Yeah, I mean, I have to admit, at this point, I am disappointed with the Republican Party as a whole as it stands in D.C. because whether they want to realize it or not, they won with a mandate again. And this is what, and all of the talk show hosts that I talk to, and the columnists that I talk to, and even the regular folks that I talk to have all said the same thing. What they wanted the Republicans to do, now that they had control of both houses again, was to put everything that they had been trying to get passed for the last 6 years on the desk of the president and make him veto every single one. So when it came time for 2016, they can stand up and say, this is what we tried to pass, this is what was vetoed, this is what we would have done if we had someone in the White House who agreed with the things that you, the American people, for the most part, do agree with. And they are not doing it, no matter how many times. I mean, at this point, I honestly feel like we are repeating Einstein's definition of insanity. The only difference is every once in a while we change teams. Everybody says, the Republicans have had a shot at it, nothing's getting done, let's vote for the Democrats for a while. Oh, now we're worse off than we were before, maybe we should vote some Republicans in for a while. Oh, look, not much is changing again. And it frustrates the crap out of me, because the thing that, as I get older, the thing that drives me crazy when it comes to politics is anymore I get the distinct impression that, yes, there is a Democratic Party, yes, there is a Republican Party, but it's like a brand war between Coke and Pepsi, because no matter which one you're voting for, you're still getting a damn soft drink.
Yeah, I agree. So, I'm just like everybody else, a little bit frustrated, a little bit tired of the left wing of the Republican Party, and it's time for them to go as well.
All right. Well, at this point, folks, we actually are about out of time. So, as usual, I want to give the last couple of minutes of the show to the guest to make sure that, again, everybody is made aware of where they can find him and how they can find him. And I do want to thank you, Mr. Eccles, for appearing with us again this evening. And I do look forward to the slightly different venue tomorrow where you and I will square off against a couple of liberals. Now, I have to admit, I am what a lot of folks have started to term is more of maybe what a lot of folks, I guess, call a conservatarian, because I do have some libertarian leanings. So I think tomorrow should be interesting because we have one really, really liberal host, one that is more JFK-style liberal, then we have me, and then you, who I'm sure from some of the stuff that I've heard and some of the things I've heard you say, I think might even be a little bit more conservative than I am. So it should be a pretty good mix. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. But why don't you go ahead and take the last minute or so and remind folks of where they can find you, and we will call it a night.
Sure. They can easily find me over on rodeccles.net. And that'll give them all kinds of the site over there is growing bigger and bigger by leaps and bounds daily. So there's a lot of information over there, as well as information about me and my shows. So I always direct people to go over there and have fun. You might want to bookmark it too, because the information changes daily on there about what I talk on the show. And some of the things that we're doing and where I might be appearing. You mentioned speaking engagements. Well, we have some. We're looking at hopefully having some speaking engagements that we can announce fairly shortly. So those will be also posted over there. But look, I just look at myself as being just a regular American Joe out there, a man who's having a love affair with his country and wants to see it continue and save for all of our posterity, our children, grandchildren, and so on. And that's why I do this.
All right. Well, again, it has been my pleasure having you join us this evening. I'm looking forward to tomorrow. And again, as always, anytime you want to come back, you have an open invitation. So just let me know. At this point, we are going to go ahead and shut things down for the night, folks. It has been my pleasure. Here in just a moment, you will hear the Liz Harrison radio show kick off. And then as soon as that show ends, we'll go over to the Voices of Global Freedom crew, who will be finishing off our regular political night tonight. And then we will, of course, join the Late Night in the Midlands crew. This is Rick Robinson, host of America Off the Rails, also programming director here at K98 Talk. Wishing you all good evening, happy Friday, enjoy your weekend, and I'll be back with you bright and early tomorrow.